Welcome back to Close Up. In the race for U.S. Senate, Congressman Chris Pappas is the first to go from dipping a toe into the campaign waters to jumping all the way in. Right after his announcement, we spoke one-on-one with Pappas about top issues in this race, a possible matchup with former Governor Chris Sununu, and where he stands on eliminating the filibuster. What's going to be the top issue in this race? Is it really about just standing up to the White House?
Well, look, it's the economy. It's how we focus on ensuring that we have policies that are working for people. And I think folks recognize in New Hampshire that for a long time, our economy has been tilted away from working families, from people who live paycheck to paycheck. So this is about having priorities that are going to allow us to invest in affordable housing, in child care, to cut taxes for middle-class families. But that's a far cry from what we see from this administration. Just yesterday, they announced another round of across-the-board tariffs that are going to make things more expensive for Granite Staters and for small businesses that drive our economy here in New Hampshire. When you think about the fact that working families are going to be paying 3 to 5% of their income to higher prices as a result of these tariffs, that's an incredible hit to people's bottom line at a time where they just can't afford it. So this is about smart policies. We have to stand up to the administration on these across-the-board tariffs that are creating great uncertainty in our economy, but we have to be willing to fight to make sure that we're lowering costs, that we have the stock of housing that we need, that we're supporting the needs of working families, and those issues are going to be front and center in our campaign.
You're the only big name to get into this race so far, but there are others who could join as well. Do you think you can defeat Chris Sununu if he runs?
The fact is, this election's about the people of New Hampshire. This isn't about me. It's not about any other candidate that will enter this race, and I'm going to go out there and earn it. I've been on a tour around the state, hit all 10 counties over the last couple weeks, talking with people very directly about what's on their minds, what their concerns are right now. And folks know that we need leadership that understands New Hampshire. I'm someone with a proven track record of showing how we can fight, but also how we bring people together and get things done. That's the kind of leadership that New Hampshire deserves. And so over the course of this campaign, we're going to be very aggressive at meeting people where they are, finding out what's on people's minds, and figuring out how we can carry that voice to be an effective member of the United States Senate. People need leadership right now, and it's an opportunity to move our state forward. And I'll stack my record and our priorities up against any other candidate that's going to get in this race.
And one Senate-specific question for you here. You know, Cory Booker just gave the longest speech in the history of the U.S. Senate. A lot of people watching that. If you do end up serving in the Senate, do you think it's time to end the filibuster?
Well, I think it's time to make sure that Washington is working for us. And there's longstanding frustration that the system is not set up for success, that corporations and special interests have far too much influence in Washington, D.C., and that even good ideas take so long if they ever reach the finish line. And we've got to figure out how government can deliver on its promise to the people for safer, stronger communities, for strong public education, to protect our environment, to safeguard personal freedoms, and surely in this moment to stand up for our democracy, for the right to vote. And so I think that there are a number of steps we can take to shore up our democracy, to level the playing field, to make sure that voters are in the driver's seat, that their voices are heard in Washington. And I intend to have a very active profile in our district, as I have during my time in Congress. I'm going to be crisscrossing the state during this Senate campaign. But if I have the honor to be able to serve the people of New Hampshire in the Senate, this is about getting stuff done. It's about standing up for what's right and confronting those who are standing in the way of progress. And I'll do that in the Senate in the same way I've done it in the House.
Just to clarify, so you're open to the idea of ending the filibuster?
Well, I think right now we have to focus on how we use all the possible tools we have at our disposal to protect what's important to New Hampshire. And so whether that's standing up and confronting this administration or fighting for progress, we have to be willing to have those conversations about how we bring people together around solutions and actually get some things done in Washington. That's been my track record, and I think people have a frustration generally with the pace in terms of how Washington works to address issues. And at the end of the day, this has to be about how we translate the will of the voters into action in Washington, D.C., and I'm committed to doing that.
All right. Congressman, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Adam.
That wraps up this edition of Close Up New Hampshire. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the politics page on our website and mobile app for more in-depth analysis and to sign up for our weekly newsletter. We'll be back next week. Have a great Sunday.